Now, I have another question, which is about how much contact you had with Japanese Americans in the Front Range. Did you have friends, families, and relatives in Denver, Brighton,
We had
Fort
a few
Leavenworth?
relatives here in Denver, and mostly were just friends.
Okay.
We had met, and a lot of them were living in the valley, and they came to Denver. A lot of them left the valley and went to Los Angeles.
Okay. So there was a lot of sort of interconnection and flow between these communities. During this period, how did you come to find out that Japanese Americans on the West Coast were being evicted from their homes?
Well, people, many of them came voluntarily by autos and came to the valley, to Denver, to various cities here in Colorado. Well, that was through the camp, what do you call it, relocation centers that they had in California. We read it, I'm sorry. We read about it in the paper, that they were all being shipped to Santa Anita and different places like that, that they weren't very happy. But what can we do?
Did you have contact with people who were in Amache?
After we knew that they were in camp, then we did have contact with, there was Reverend Agatsuma who came here to Denver, and there was several of the people who lived in the valley, and they had moved to Los Angeles, and they were there, and we heard about it. So that was one of the reasons why I went to camp, to visit them.
Well, that's an interesting chapter right there. Can you tell us what it was like to be outside of the camp and then go inside voluntarily?
To go inside voluntarily, we had paperwork to do, but we didn't have very much problems of getting in. After getting into the camps, we found out it was very depressing to see people living in one-room barrack-like types of homes with a potbelly stove in the middle, and the building just had one slab of lumber covered with tar paper. And I'm sure it was very cold. If Blanca got cold, I'm sure Amache got cold too.
Well, the WRA would have represented Amache as this town that had sprung out of rural Colorado. But it sounds like what you saw was quite a bit different. So what were some of the things that that you experienced while you were in Amache, and how did that affect you?
To me, I thought it was very, I was despondent actually, to see people living like they did. In the mornings you get up and you go to the mess halls to eat breakfast of dried eggs, or I would say dehydrated eggs, and maybe some mornings they would have biscuits and gravy, but it was, to me, I couldn't see where that was being a very satisfying food. And then everything, you went in lines, breakfast, showers, bathroom, whatever. Everything had a line. And to me, that was just so unfair. But when we didn't experience it, I think it was worse. But the camp people didn't seem to be bothered about too much.
So was getting out of the camp difficult at all?
No.
You just were able to?
Uh-huh. But the sad part was seeing a fence between you and the people inside, and we're able to leave, and they're waving goodbye to you. It was very depressing. And then to have the sentry, you know, the army watching you 24 hours a day with a gun in their hand, it wasn't a very good feeling at all.
How did this experience affect you? Did you go back to your normal life, or did you?
Right, we went back to our normal life, but you have to feel very grateful that you were able to go home, go wherever you wanted to do. Of course, we didn't travel very much because of rationing of gasoline. Everybody was only allowed so much gasoline, and if we wanted to go someplace, we had to pool our ration stamps to get enough gasoline to go anywhere.
So, and this is kind of a wrap-up question, I guess. Overall, what would you say was the biggest impact that the war had on your life?
The war really didn't affect us till my brothers had gone to the army. And then I felt that it was truly a sacrifice to them as well as all the other young men that went. But to us, that we could go anywhere at any time you had to be thankful. You had to be very thankful for that.
For enjoying freedoms that
Right, absolutely.
your friends and relatives
Right.
had been deprived of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us.